Okay, so we're still on the assembly stage. It is Tuesday, so this isn't great, but I want all the assembly done right. It's not something I'm going to skip on. Obviously, I'm not going to spend more time than I need to, but all this stuff has to be done correctly. One of the most difficult things we've got is this Epidemus, can't pronounce him, too many vowels, name this base, or a base of these dimensions, onto a base of these dimensions, which should, thankfully, just about fit. If you're interested, this model is an entire base of Nurglings facing 4 ways and the world of green stuff. All those tentacles are hand-sculpted green stuff. He was meant to have a blade in his hand like this one, so I'm going to try and make one of those if I can get time, something that looks chunky and choppy. Then the Herald on Foot model, which I think is a brilliant model. So I have to get this from that onto that. Now there's a problem with this. This is really well glued on. It's on a homemade old square base. See the magnets I've set into it. And these parts here have got really big flat footprints that are going to be plastic glued on. So I've no idea how I'm going to go about this. We're just going to have to go in pretty heavy handed. So I think what I'm going to do is get my old damaged clippers, which are pretty tough and have seen better days. And I'm just going to hack around in the corners. So, I mean, I guess let's go. Got an old blade here. I'm going to try and slice underneath the old basing, which hopefully is it's been PVA'd on. Basically, the reason for doing this is that I don't want to unnecessarily damage my clippers by sending them through hard sand. Okay, so it's just plastic. Hopefully we can get through it. I think that the best bet is to just tear, like use these like pliers almost. Oh, it's going okay. Whoops. I mean, that's it's not a bad start. I don't know how much of this we need to take off. If we can get it all off entirely, that'd be great. If not, then I guess we take the corners off and just kind of glue it onto here, like that, really built up. It wouldn't look great. Yeah, this is going to take a while. I need to make sure to not rest my fingers on the tentacles because I'll break them. They're only green stuff. Obviously don't use a new lovely blade for this. I've got a really old one that's been snapped at the end yesterday while I was working my guys onto their countersunk fly bases. All right, so can we? Oh, I'm so worried about those tentacles. Oh, looking good. Get right under there, if possible. Oh, come on. It would be so amazing if this base had all come off practically as one. Oh no, I just thought the base is holding the bases of Nurglings together. Like they're not attached centrally within that. So maybe it wouldn't be amazing. I don't know what to do. Help. Oh, I really like this model. I don't want to ruin it. Oh, okay. There's a... it's been years since I built this. I can't remember how I did it, but that looks like they are attached to a piece of plastic card underneath. I don't know. I think at this point we just have to go in heavy-handed, cross fingers. Oh, come on. That was a good snap. That was like a entire thing snapped across. Snap. want to hear that type of crack where, you know, it's going to be a flat one and everything goes at once. Fingers crossed. Camera's wobbling. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, I can't even brace that without breaking the blade. Come on, pop off. We are close. We are really close. It's gone better than I thought it would. One base of Nurglings to go. Yes! F***ing yes. Excellent. Oh, I did build it carefully. Clever me. Wow, that went so much better than I would have thought. Winner. So, a little bit of cleaning up, and we will be good. Oh, that was stressful. That was so stressful. I'm so glad that's worked though. Brilliant. So yeah, I'll just try and, I clipped this down for square previously. Obviously it's now going on round. So what I'm going to try and do is, you know, nibble off little bits on these edges to make it a less obvious square. I can't avoid it completely, and I don't have time to remodel it. And these are flat bases anyway. It's going to end up squarish. But if I can kind of cut into these, maybe even at the expense of some Nurglings' toes, then I will do. That's brilliant though. Psyched for that. Fantastic. All right, so made a bit of progress. I'm so relieved that's kind of worked out. The front of his base has gone a little bit messy. I might see if I can green stuff and sand over that or something, because this is one of the cleaner looking bases that I had. But I'm so glad that he's been successful. We've got 20 finished bases for Plague Bearers, and by finished I mean, let me find an example, there's a good one. It's got a couple of things going on here. I've put little plastic spacers on for their feet. That helps them not be sunk into the ground that I'm going to put on, so they're slightly raised up. Fairly useful, and it also means that I'll probably have fairly good access around their feet with dry brushes and stuff like that. All been built up with the green stuff, a couple of rocks, and we've got some logs on there. Some flora and fauna will be popped around those. Got about 10 more of those to go. Soon, I'm looking up at my Gantt chart. I'm going to get to take off the assembly stage. I just have the riders of the plague drones to do. So what we have in store for tonight, unfortunately, is probably like a 5-hour finishing all of basing and assembly slog, so I can get a clean run with nothing but painting for the rest of the project. So I guess let's crack on. I like basing, but I don't like it this much. This has gone on for a while. Okay, so here is our messy desk, but there is some progress on it. Thought I'd quickly show this because I find it really useful. So when doing something like a base for one of our beasts, it's quite difficult to know what goes where. Now, if you've got cork down, it's really easy to actually draw around stuff, but with waste stick, if you can't draw around it, what I like to do, it's a little bit more rough and ready, but it works fine. Get strong paint. Make sure you get your kind of placing right. You want him centrally. Bosh. All right. It's not perfect, but that's our footprint. And then we get to work around that. We know where the hand is, we know where the front blob is, back blob is. And then what I'll do is I'll make a green stuffed sausage that pretty much echoes that, press it on it, push it down, and this is how we get our beasts slightly raised up, but with no flat points that aren't in contact with the ground. Like the Great Unclean one, you know, we don't want just a random perfect flat cut-off viewable from anywhere, and having them raised up in the center of the base. Again, it's all right for access and stuff like that. I quite like how it looks. So yeah, that's one of our ways. It's just about giving yourself guidelines and stopping yourself from having to guess with this stuff. So let's finish this slog off. What have I got here? 3, 5, another 5 stack, 11. So I've got a complicated base for my Lord of Afflictions. I've got a 40mm base for one of the characters, and then we've got whatever that adds up to. Is that 11 or 12 normal 32s to go, all of which will get the kind of, you know, a stick, some rocks treatment before we're going on to the flora and fauna. So, I didn't make progress last night. Since having COVID, I've just been super sleepy. Fell asleep really early. I was knackered, but I have woken up early. So it is like 7 something, and I'm just going to crack on. I have had a bit of an issue. I can't find one of the riders for my drones, so we're going to melt a leg of a plague bearer. Should be fine. He'll fit on there okay. And we're going to finish the basing, and then we can crack on. I am looking up at my charts, which I'm going to get to make a lot of completed lines off on the assembly and the basing thing. When I get back this evening, got a full day of work, I will be putting texture on the bases, being, you know, sand or flock or whatever else it is, maybe putting some more of the tufts down and stuff like that. So yeah, let's crack on with that. I have to also somehow work out how this fairly large model, this can be my Lord of Afflictions, I've got a really nice converted rider for it that you will have already seen. I need to work out how to fit that on its base. It's just too big, so I think I'm probably going to have to jut some slate out behind or something. Should work absolutely fine, just needs a little bit of figuring out. He came off his old base quite nicely. Everyone's coming off their old bases quite nicely, luckily, otherwise we'd be screwed. So yeah, got to work that out, and that's it really. Right, let's actually finish this basing. I'm up early, got a load of motivation, let's go. I really can tell I was tired yesterday because I completely forgot about the strip that I put trying to beef out the Great Unclean One's base, and rather than cutting through it when it was wet, it meant that I had to cut through it this morning when it was completely set and dry, and I've sanded it, and it's gone a little bit rough. Luckily that section was quite rough anyway, so it's not like it's got worse, but I could have had it looking flawless. So I've just sanded it with some 1000 grit to try and smooth that out. I think I don't have time to do anything more than that, but I could maybe use some putty and sand it at a later date without it being too much of a risk to, you know, the rest of the paint job. But oh well, it's what happens when you're tired and derpy. It's a good sign that I should definitely have taken it easy and gone to bed early because I was making silly decisions. Right, we've got a plague bearer here that's nearly prepped. Let's see if we can squeeze him onto a fly. So at this stage, it's the areas where it's been overglued. I didn't assemble these, but I would have also overglued them. Better than undergluing. I'm just going to take those shiny sections away if possible. Catch any seal lines. Looking largely good. You can actually fill these gaps, especially on plague bearers, you can fill these gaps with texture paint. No downside to that whatsoever. I'll show you what that'd be like. I'm not doing it in general, but it might be a useful thing for you to learn. And then just feather it out a little. And mop up some of the water. We don't want it too wet after all. But because he's Nurgle, you can basically get away with murder. There's a reason why I'm doing this army for a speed project. So yeah, you just go around and anywhere that you weren't happy with, you know, gaps especially, you can just bob some texture paint in them. And then once dried, it'll be absolutely fine. What we need to do with him though is split his legs. So here is a drone, here's a normal drone rider. We need this guy's legs to be that wide apart. He shouldn't be too far off, actually. That's why I picked him. Yeah, that's going to be quite an easy one. I think I'll just get a lighter out and I'm going to try and skew both of his legs evenly. Whether we manage that or not, yet to be seen, but if we don't, it won't be the end of the world. Okay, Operation Don't Burn My Fingers Off. So obviously I want to let the heat rise to the area in question. Also, I want to try and keep this underneath because, you know, if it goes wrong underneath, we probably won't find out. Turn that right down. That's one. Oh, we've burnt the back of his ankle. That's okay. He's got a very shiny bum. There's some curly fingers. Right, how close is he? See, we've ended up stretching his ankles quite a lot. Ooh, nearly. I wonder if it'd just be easier to cut here. I can try once more. Well, he can have a broken leg. He's Nurgle. Okay, I reckon we're going to be all right. Obviously, we're going to have to take the clip off here. I don't want to bother, like drilling a hole in his butt. It just doesn't seem worth the effort at this stage, so I'll clip that right off. Whee! And Mr. Broken Leggy Boy, we need to get those a little bit wider, but we're close. I wonder if I can just... It's just going to be individual bits like that ankle that are touching. They're going to be hidden if they're inwards facing, so it might be that just removing like the inside of calves or ankles, we can just turn them into negative space. Nearly. Not enough though. Right. Well, let's see if we can just coke these apart. Cokes. Shouldn't be too hard. It's a floppy foot. Obviously, guys, this could be done better than I'm doing it, but we are in a rush. Hey, we're nearly there. I think we can have one. That'll do. It's chaos, it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so second major task is this guy whose back foot is just too far off this base for comfort. I think what we're gonna do is find a slatey bit. Take a flat bit of slate. There's two options. It doesn't have to be huge. We only need a little bit more space. So let's see which one of these. I'm just going to dry fit this and play around with it. Let's see which one looks okay. This one's got some other bits of slate stuck to the bottom from some previous basing attempt. Nah, bigger. Quite a lot bigger. Maybe this way around, actually. Going to need to be at angle. I don't want to have like just having a bit either side is going to look a little unnatural, I feel. Perhaps like this, and then he could be stepping down this lower bit, front foot there, back foot there, or something. Also, that'll give me a point if I could just... I reckon, yeah, we need something like that, I think, would be great. It's an interesting angle. I'll do first is chop any previous glue and crap off his feet, because I'd like these to be pretty much flush, ideally. He's got some gold paint under his feet from his trim. So with these flattened off. Right. Maybe. Oh, okay. Maybe we have it at an angle where the elements of the train are on each other. I want it to look like this foot that's raised, which I think is a bit of a derpy looking foot. I want it to look like it's raised because he's lifting it over the log. That would be ideal. So that's what we're going to try and achieve. Tell you what, let's get out some green stuff, pop a blob down, and see what we can achieve. So it's going to be fly on the wall of how slapdash this stuff is. Doesn't matter though, you don't have to worry about things being done perfectly, it's basing. It's one of the joys of it. So just with a bit of sticking power that is pliable, you unlock the ability to just play, which is exactly what we want and what we're after. Okay, Mr. Juggernaut. So if we could actually have that up, we can achieve that just by beefing up this section. It's going to be underneath, it's going to be hidden. And press it down till the angle is good. Nice. I think that works fairly well. A couple of good points. Oh, that really annoys me. Move it right forwards. Ooh, that's so annoying. I guess really that foot wants to be a bit higher, which is awkward. That's the opposite. So twist it around. Said it was forgiving. We can neaten out anything afterwards, just once we got that position. So front foot. Oh, that's not going to work either. It's so awkward. Right, I think all we can do is pop it on, and then maybe even have another rock on top of this rock underneath that. This is what we'll do. We'll build up under this foot. So contact point here, contact point here, contact point there. Get that as flush as possible, whatever angle that is. Yeah. No? Welcome to basing, guys. Oh, screw it. We're gonna build up all over this rock and just make it work. So all I want to do is get a nice shape that I find interesting, and that we're going to manage to sneak stuff underneath. I'm really keen to have this look like it's heavily grounded in nature, with stuff bursting out from underneath it. So let's neaten up those edges to the degree that we can. And I'm going to make sure that nothing here is too close to the edge, because that's where things start looking bad. Okay, so yeah, we'll let that dry, or we could be impatient, which we are going to be, of course, naturally, and we'll see what we can do about this right now. So point here, point there, point there. Let's anchor this foot first, because that one's going to probably have to be the most built up. So I'm going to put down a little green stuff blob here, roughly. I'm making this green stuff really warm, by the way, in my hands, and that's what that's going to do. Use a smaller one that's even warmer. The warmer it is, the more pliable it is, and the softer it is. So if I work fast, which I'm going to try to do, you can actually hairdryer it if you want to keep it like this, is while it's pliable, I'm going to shove a load of stuff in it. What height do we need to be at? Quite high. Oh, a little bit higher. Gap in between to put a pin through. Just into the green stuff. There, that'll do. Gap at the... that's right on it. Well, that's worked. That positioning's perfect. Might have to go through that slate. It's not a worry, you can pin through slate if it's thin. And then while we're here, hopefully while it's still warm, we need to build up to that. Let's get a bigger blob of green stuff. A much bigger blob. Keep some for the rear foot. Shouldn't need too much for that too. I'm just going to work it down. Start with my thumbs and then kind of rolling pinning it out, which is pretty fast but not as good as it was with my favourite flat bladed tool. No idea where I've misplaced that though. Okay, that's looking like a nice kind of scree slope area, in which case we need to cover it in the scree. I used to try really hard to kind of place things randomly. And what I learned is that if you're not very organized with how they go on, you just kind of press them in, then fill in the gaps. You start from a random point, and that helps you finish looking like everything was, just piled there by nature a bit, which is exactly what we're going for. So some of this is going to be hidden under his foot. Obviously, we can put sand on it as well. There. Yeah, we're going to have to pin through that. What I'm going to do is this little side blob here. It looks too blobby and unnatural, so flatten it out a bit, get another piece under there, and then just tip it. It's gravity. What would sand be doing? It would have fallen off. Okay. Just think where stuff would be falling, how it would be falling, at what angle, and pick up pieces of slate that are helpful to the task that you have in mind. Nice, that's looking better. Got this kind of blob of them that is from a previous something. It's already stuck together. Use that architecturally. Nice, really good flat contact point there. So if you're wondering about how fragile this is going to be, don't need to worry about that because we're going to set it. We'll set it with a spray varnish. Might even do a couple of stages. Make sure after fiddling that we've got the same angle. We have. Awesome. Okay, so we need to do something under this foot. Right, what I'm going to do is make his foot wet. Press the blob on lightly And hopefully when I press down, it'll stick to the slate in the correct place. So we want it here, press it down firmly to the slate, and then pull it off flat and in one go. Okay. Even got his pinning point indicated on it, which is really useful. Pop down a couple of bits of slate. Quick double check. Awesome. Press it in a little. Pinning point's just the very back. That should be absolutely fine if we do need to use it. Okay, so that's it. Got a little bit of green stuff left over. Never waste green stuff. And what I'm going to do is any areas that look a little bit too, flat or unbroken, I tend to just put a blob right in the middle. Put something on it if you wanted, but this is just to break up anything that looks a little bit too man-made. Obviously, completely, perfectly flat cork is going to stand out on these bases. So roll out the edges and just make that lump an organic shape. There we go. Okay, so pretty much done there. Really pleased with that. That's a much better solution than something that looked not very good. That's worked perfectly.